Hello again, and welcome to a sort of pseudo hot take. More accurately, welcome to a nominal response video, though I don't think YouTube does those anymore. This one inspired by some insights on tournament arcs shared by Red over on Overly Sarcastic Productions. Before we start, I just want to say that I love OSP, and I liked the video, but had some thoughts on how Yusuke and Kuwabara's arcs were summed up that I just had to share. Thanks as always to my wonderful patrons for indulging me, links below. So, for the unfamiliar, Yu Yu Hakusho is a classic shonen centered on a street-tough kid who died unexpectedly being able to take on a trial to return to life, and after doing so he is recruited by the Prince of the Afterlife to be a spirit detective. Eventually his rival and friend Kuabara, who comes from a family of natural mediums, joins in and they fight demons, go on missions, good times are had by all. The Dark Tournament arc is centered around a villain named Toguro, threatening to kill everyone Yusuke loves unless he and his friends participate in this demon and demon summoner funded, all-out, no-holds-barred blood sport event called the Dark Tournament. Honestly, it's not my favourite arc, but it's many people's, and it is a good arc to be sure, but I found Red's summary of Yusuke and Kuwabara's arcs insufficient, saying Yusuke and Kuwabara are mostly what one expects, and that they are set up mostly to be fish-out-of-water characters. Summing up the rest of their arcs as Yusuke wants to get stronger to protect his friends and beat the bad guy, going through some very dangerous processes to do so, and that Kuwabara's defining characteristics are loyal, honourable, kind of dumb, and super determined, so he spends most of his fights getting the crap kicked out of him until the power of friendship or love give him a boost. Then goes on to say that the real juicy character arcs belong to the other characters. Discussing Hiei's desire to get stronger and his dabbling in dangerous processes like the Dragon of the Darkless Flame to do so. Meanwhile, Kurama's arc gets started by an enemy accidentally turning him back into his former incarnation, i.e. a super powerful and much more evil fox demon than his human self. Oh yeah, Kurama is a fox demon reincarnated as a human, so he's grappling with who he used to be and who he's becoming as a human. Plus there's Yusuke's mentor Genkai, who is preparing to hand over her powers to him and has both a personal connection and ideological opposition to the villain, i.e. he gave up his humanity to be young and demonic forever, while she chose to age and accept death as a human, and also he kills her. She gets better though. Red also does acknowledge Kuwabara's sacrifice, which we will go into, and how it's a trope-savvy move on Kuwabara's part to seemingly throw away his life so Yusuke would gain the grief-induced power-up. So what are my issues? Well, as I said, I think it's an insufficient summary for Yusuke and Kuwabara and how naturally their arcs and characters intertwine. Now, I have watched both the sub and the dub, but I do think despite a penchant for occasionally slipping in extra jokes that aren't necessary, the dub is just fantastic. It also sells Yusuke as a more street-tough kid who's kind of a jerk but with a heart of gold, as opposed to the aggressively friendly type shonen heroes are often characterized as. Yusuke's general penchants as a streetwise, smart-mouthing punk also play into his arc rather subtly. Basically, he's used to being let down by people, systems, society at large, and even family. As a result, he's adopted a very careless, casual facade that actually is a little too real for comfort. Yusuke is in essence terrified of commitment, of vulnerability, of giving his all to something or someone. He's got that classic shonen, it takes a while for him to reach full power, but it's not carelessness or irresponsibility. It's literally that he struggles to put his all into anything until his back's up against the wall, and even then he can only do so much without extreme measures. He's scared of it all being for naught, of failing or being let down. His mentor Genkai spends much of her time trying to drive home to him he has to be willing to care with his whole heart or he'll never progress after a point, never grow up or mature as he needs to, and when it's down to the wire and he's unleashed everything Genkai gave him, he fails. It's still not enough. And so to force him to reach deeper than he can comfortably consciously go, Toguro decides to start offing his loved ones. Seeing the situation for what it is, Kuwabara decides to fall on his sword, metaphorically, and die to give Yusuke the resolve he needs. Fortunately, Toguro has complicated emotions and so only fake kills Kuwabara, but Yusuke sure as hell doesn't know that. Fully jacked up and ready to die if it means just ending this fight, Yusuke chastises himself for ever thinking Toguro's life of total self-reliance and isolation might have been something to look up to. He castigates Toguro for being a coward, a child who ran away from his vulnerabilities by becoming a demon rather than facing his emotions and growing up. Then he obliterates him. Kuwabara's arc is nominally much more straightforward. This is because Kuwabara is a rather static character, but that isn't a bad thing. His main changes over the series are fairly subtle, focusing more on his future and studying, a subtle degree of emotional maturity, but overall, Kuwabara remains consistent. He's loyal, brave, honourable to a fault, and unlike Yusuke, he cares with his whole chest, his whole being without shame or second guessing. He feels, and he feels big. Hence why his own presence complements Yusuke's arc so well and why he's such a good deuteragonist. So yeah, in essence, the tournament is basically an endurance test to see what his limits are, and we find out there are none. But that in of itself is an awesome and engaging means by which to explore the character and contrast him against his equal and opposite in Yusuke. I just really like them as all. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. If you want to support my work, please check out my Patreon or Ko-fi, where you can also commission 3D art. Thanks for stopping by.